Welcome to Wealth Coffee Chats, folks, for your daily live updates. Get the most out of today's episode by participating in the chat. Make sure you ask some questions, be part of the conversation, have a bit of fun, grab a coffee or a tea, take some notes, and get ready to start your day, folks. Quick few housekeeping rules, though. No spamming, no advertising or self-promotion in the chat. That's not on. Be kind and respectful to everyone when participating. And most of all, have a good time. Real estate investing can be your biggest asset. It also can be your most expensive asset when it comes to getting it right or getting it wrong, folks. It can be time-consuming, stressful, and that's why here at Positive, we have what's called a 6-star team, a full-service team that provides integrated wealth and property investing solutions and services simply designed to help you progress towards your goal of passive income through your property portfolio, folks. Make sure you check out our other podcasts on the Positive Mentor Network. Not only is there Wealth Coffee Chats, there's the Urban Property Investor. Drops every Wednesday with straight talking investing strategies and lessons with Sam Saggers. Property Investor Tales. This is where our clients, you guys, share real life stories from property investing, hosted by some of our advisors and strategists. And that's done every fortnight, dropping every Monday. Wealth, Wine and Wisdom, folks, that debriefs the week that was in the world of finance and property, hosted by yours truly, Jason Witten and Andy Fenton on Fridays. Welcome to another Wealth Coffee Chat. Marvellous Monday. Hope you're well, folks, wherever you are. If you think it's Get Rich Quick, you're in the wrong place. This is the wrong podcast. This is the wrong live for you. Welcome to another Wealth Coffee Chat. Hope you're all awesome and well. Hello. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Wealth Coffee Chats. Good to see a few of the early birds there already. Hope you've had a good weekend. Getting things going on a Monday morning. I'll do the quick warm-ups while we're waiting for everyone to jump on, as always. Quick intros, Jason Witten's my name. If you didn't already know, now you do. Good to see you, folks. Thanks for joining. If you're a newbie, or this might be the first time you found us, whatever that might be, maybe even you're just returning, haven't been around for a while, let us know in the chat. Say a quick hello. Great to have you here. Let us know where you are in this big, wide country, big brown land of Australia. And what you're up to when it comes to property investing. We get together each weekday, about 8:10, and talk about the idea of property investing is a bit of a marathon, not a sprint, folks. It takes time to go the distance. You guys know the drill. Those who've been coming for a while, it takes time to build your property portfolio, create the wealth that you desire, the passive income, the portfolio mix that you need. It takes a bit of patience. Takes a bit of time. Certainly, as most of you know, and if you're new, you might not know yet, there's not many institutions out there who give a rat's ass about you achieving it. The banks don't care. They don't care. The government doesn't care. Institutions don't care. So you should care. And each day we try and keep on track because the media likes to feed us a bunch of bullshit, don't they? Try and get us off track. But anyway, there you go. G'day, morning, Tim. Good to see you, mate. Great to have you here. Thanks for joining. As always, good to have you on, mate, this morning as we go along. But listen, folks, some things aren't making sense out there to me when it comes to the world of property values, property investing. Now, it's an interesting conversation when we have a little look at how, what should make sense. What should make sense out there in the world of property investing. And when we have a look at the values or the median value of the market, July 31st, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me. And what do I mean by that? Well, let's have a quick look at what I'm talking about here. When we pull up the according to CoreLogic, the average dwelling prices or the value index, median value, it depends on which way you slice it, median, average, whatever. Depends on whose data you look at. But let's do apples for apples right now when it comes to the world of property values in Australia. And often in the past, it has always made sense to me that the median values have aligned or lined up with the size and population of a state, right? So, but let's just have a look at this. It's interesting. Sydney, the big one, right now. Well, it's making sense, and I suppose maybe making sense is not the right conversation. Maybe it's not what it used to be. It's not behaving like it did in the past, all right? Like it has done in the past, something that we could maybe expect to see when it comes to our property values. But anyway, let's get on with it. Sydney, as we always have expected in the past, Sydney has always been the big cojones, right? The big median price, $1.17 million. Hey, morning, Luke. Morning, Adrian. Good to see you. Thanks for joining. $1.1 million, folks, is the median value of Sydney. But, what's not making sense to me, at all, these ones, right? So these three here, okay? They're not making sense. And if you add in Canberra and Perth, actually, let's add them all in, because it's an interesting conversation that I want to have with you guys this morning. What's driving these things? Perth and then Canberra. All right, let's add them in, because the others are kind of irrelevant, but we could add them in anyway in a minute. Not irrelevant. Sorry, Canberrans and Hobartians and Darwinians, but you know what I mean. Anyway, let's have a look at this. All right, so let's have a look at this as a expression of the population, right? Because this is where it's not making sense to me. This is where it's not making sense. And maybe we'll try and make some sense of it in a minute, right? So let's have a look at these as an expression of the population. Well, Melbourne's 4.2 million. All right, 4.2 million. Brisbane, there we go, 2.1 million. Okay, 2.1 million peoples. And there we go. Perth, 1.8 million. Hopefully you can see that. That's not very we'll make that a little bit skinnier. Okay, here we go. There. 1.8 million. Adelaide, 1.2 million. And Canberra makes the least sense of all. 362 million. 362. Well, it's actually 1,000, really, at the end of the day. Not a million. But 362K. So when it comes to the median price, the median values, what's going on, folks? We've got Melbourne is cheaper than Brisbane, 2+ million more people, so double the population. And often we find, often the conversation or the rhetoric is, if you've got more density of population, usually you get more value created somewhere, don't you? Right? So Melbourne, Brisbane, 2.1 million. Adelaide, 1.2 million. Now, Adelaide is Adelaide's average house price is more expensive than Perth. That makes no sense. 1.8 million in here as well. So, what else is correlating here when it comes to these things? What drives values, folks? What's the underlying thing? Put it in the chat for me. What's the underlying thing that keeps these values up as property investors? And this is a bit of a rambling conversation, but stick with me this morning. not only population. So obviously population is not the key driver here, the key thing. It often population is something that helps out. But what else is something we should have a bit of a look at? Well, let's have a look at wages, right? We've had some wage growth, a small amount of wage growth, because often when you think about the world of property, it's affected very much so by financing, right? So if you have a look at this, finance when interest rates are cheaper, or money's cheaper, you get growth. You have a look at 2010 when money was cheaper. You have a look at any time interest rates have been better, right? So property prices grow, interest rates are, finance is easier to get. It drives along property values and property prices, right? Certainly supply has an issue, Sheila, that's for sure. Certainly supply does some things. Very sadly, we've had the worst supply in 10 years. Worse construction, worse approvals, et cetera, et cetera. So that's making a big difference at the moment for sure, as we go along. So, what else is going on out there in the market? Let's have a look at the average salaries, right? So in here, I was just checking this out before. Here's, the average salary in Australia, 91,000. Does that correlate everywhere? 91,000. Well, let's have a look at a few of these. I was just going to actually scroll to the bottom because it was here. So the average salary in Sydney. So let's have a look at this correlate. So 108,000, 108. Actually, let's put this in a different color. So you got 108, 108. You got 106 in Melbourne, 106, 104, and then 101. 101. Now it doesn't have Perth in there, so we might be able to find that somewhere else, depending on which bits and pieces you have a look at. So if you have a look at a few of these things, then what's going on. Some salaries, some supply, some population. So the salaries are all sort of fairly evened out. If you have a look at Perth, it'll probably be around the same, and same with Canberra. Canberra is usually quite high because of the politicians pay themselves really well. So what's going on? It doesn't make a lot of sense, right, when it comes to this sort of stuff. So, what will drive the next cycle? What will drive the next bits and pieces when it comes to the market in Australia? And which city will kick on sooner rather than later, right? So what's going to drive the next one? Have some of these cities reach their peaks? And in my mind, I think, for me, certainly places like Adelaide, Adelaide being up there in expense and price, I think has certainly reached its upper limits, folks, when it comes to its value. Hey, good morning, Sonia. So I wouldn't be rushing out unless you're an owner-occupier. Owner-occupier, perfectly fine. But Adelaide certainly will start to see some challenges, I think, when it comes to its price momentum because of its average house price compared to maybe its wages or whatever it might be. What about Brisbane? Well, Brisbane's charging along as well. Certainly, it's got a whole lot of extra momentum when it comes to, financial support from the Olympic Games and people moving from, Sydney and Melbourne to Brisbane. All right, but I think the dark horse or the outside chance for me in price movement is good old Melbourne. I think Melbourne's undervalued, but let's face it, it's political issues. Politics is causing its all sorts of grief. So it needs to sort that out, right? It needs to sort that out. That's for sure. That's for sure. And Sydney, right now, we're starting to see again, and this happened just after the GFC for us. We're starting to see rental yields in Sydney, 6+%. 6+% rental yield on a residential piece of real estate in Sydney, which is pretty good. And it's Western Sydney, that's for sure, where the majority of the population live. So that's actually encouraging as well. Yep, that's for sure, Tim. The Olympics, certainly it's the same in the Gold Coast, actually, where we had the Com Games in the Gold Coast, and that has really driven the Gold Coast to be one of the most expensive places in Australia to rent, and on average, one of the most expensive house markets in Australia, which is interesting. Again, driven by a bit of supply issues. Hey, good morning, Jeff. But certainly, how do people continue to afford in those areas? Well, this is the thing I think that's going to happen sooner rather than later. We all know we're not holding our breath, but we're looking forward to it. This is the reduction in borrowing power, which is what happened when the interest rates went up, right? So as the interest rates go up, some households, reduced, between 40 and 60% of their ability to borrow, right? So on the flip side, if the interest rates come down instead of going up, what's going to kick on? And for most of us, if the interest rate goes down 1%, then we're going to see a renewed growth in property prices, not driven by the finance changes, the affordability, okay, as we go along. So at the end of the day, what does it all mean? Why does it not make sense? Well, the population, for me, that's going to wake up and drive some things pretty quickly, I believe, in the next 2 to 5 years, is going to be this population here. All right, that population there. Now, Sydney's always going to kick on, but it's still quite a high median house price. All of these cities have peaked out. Their median house price is peaking or hitting, records. And the one that is struggling and has had some negative growth, by the way, across the whole market because of its political stupidity is Melbourne. Anyway, there you go. Why wasn't it making sense? Well, it wasn't making sense. 4.2 million. Adelaide and Perth are about to take over its median house price. That's why it's not making sense to me. Anyway, there you go. Anyway, a bit of a ramble this morning, folks, but, a few things to think about when it comes to the market and how to position ourselves. Tonight, make sure you join us for mentoring. It's on tonight. We're going to dive into the world of creating or making sure your portfolio is set up for passive income. For all of us, at some point in time, we want to transform our wealth and our assets into income that you don't have to go to work for, right? Your assets got to go to work and generate that income for you. So tonight we're going to dive deep into that in mentoring. So make sure you come along and check your emails or jump on the Facebook group, folks, if you've missed the regos. There'll be a text come out as well, I'm sure. I reckon you're right, Tim. Yeah, it is good value at the moment, and the only issue with Melbourne, is its political instability, and once that gets fixed, then it's probably once that changes, then it will need some time to fix some of the problems. But it's got some opportunity to rise and come good. Melbourne's a great city. Melbourneites don't want to stay down for long. The other one right now, certainly when it comes to opportunity, if it's priced right, is Sydney. Sydney's going to, kick on quite nicely when it comes to the rental yields. And certainly Brisbane's got some legs in it. For me, I think Adelaide and Perth are starting to find their upper limit. Perth might run on for a little bit more, but There you go. All right, folks, that's it. Join us tonight for mentoring, and till then, and tomorrow we've got another Wealth Coffee Chat, so make sure you come along and hang out with us for that as well. All right, folks, that's it from me. Good to see you. Bye for now. Episode of Wealth Coffee Chat, folks. Make sure you like, subscribe, and turn on your notifications so you never miss a thing when we go live. Improve your portfolio and investing game, folks, with Wealth Coffee Chats live every morning at 8:10 each weekday. Make sure you join us. Previous episodes are also available wherever you get your podcasts, folks, as well as our other podcasts from the 6-Star team here at positivementor.com.au.